Hello there, and welcome back. Now today, I would like to shed some light on something I've been playing around with in the past couple of weeks, and that is open G tuning. Now, I'd been wanting to talk about this for a while, but having some other more experienced, talented, and resourceful gentlemen cover the topic, made me think to just simmer on it a little bit, come up with something a little bit more me, and bring it to you. So without further ado, let us start our lovely discussion today with the usual dose of caffeine as we caffeine up. And jump into the topic directly, shall we? So, what do I mean specifically when I'm talking about open G tuning on the guitar? I am talking about, for those who don't know, a method of tuning which differs from the standard E, A, D, G, B, E to D, G, D again, G, B, and D again. And for some of you out there who may already be onto what's going on here, the only notes that we have when strum open are G, D, and B, which happen to be the triad of the G major chord. So what we really end up with is just a fancy G major where we don't have to fret anything. And as you can sort of tell by that little strum right there, is you get an extremely warm and, in my opinion, beautiful chord that just resonates without any effort whatsoever on the guitar player's part. And this opens up a stream of new ways of playing the guitar, which I think are quite beneficial for the development of both new players and more experienced players who maybe have just not dabbled in open tunings thus far. So, why exactly is playing in open G cool, useful, or fun? Because all we've really said so far is that if I just hit the open strings, I get a chord. If we take our concept of bar chords and apply it here, what that means is we get a chord, or we pop our finger down, and we can move that chord anywhere on the fretboard we please. But the difference here is we're using one finger to bar our whole chord, so we can use our other delicious little fingers for other delicious little things. Having this freedom of moving your fingers around reminds me of a certain guitar player's way of playing rhythm, flopping in lead licks and other interesting notes to our major chords, you know, certain thumb over the neck, triad playing. So please do consider subscribing if you would like to stay tuned for more. Get it? Get it? Tuning? I am somewhat of an intellectual myself, I know. No one's actually going to do that now because how bad that was. Whatever. Okay, I committed. Alright? But we're going to touch modifications to our chords just in a moment, so stay tuned until the end for that. So calling back on that example riff that I played with my trusty slide, Fred from the future here, coming at you quite close and personally. I know, enjoy the aesthetic. But I've been practicing with some new little slides lately, so if you want to hear or see more from them, tell us, because there's a lovely story behind them, and I'd love to tell it. Alright, that's it. Back to the scheduled programming. This basic concept of moving your chords around, you can just do it with either your finger or your slide, and it's such an enriching way to just play and use your ear to find new chords and new methods of playing, with the beauty of having that open kind of backdrop you can always fall back on as a transition between your chords, and it's really quite liberating, especially because that almost fell on G's. One of the true benefits of playing in a different tuning than standard, in my opinion, is it really forces you to not rely on a good chunk of those shapes and standard tuning related theoretical applications that you've been leaning on for so long, and it really makes you think outside the box. I had to sit there and think for a moment what the notes were in my chord if I were to play this. You know, it took me a moment to be like, okay, so that's this was an A, and this was an F. But please don't go thinking that if you go to all the trouble of tuning to your open G, that you're going to go finding yourself in some sort of miasma of confusion and cacophony. No, what ends up really leaning to our advantage is the fact that the D, G, and B don't change from standard. So you can still kind of orient yourself with your major triads of your 5th position bar chords. Because this is still going to remain the major triad of D major, no matter what you do. And this is going to remain C, and this is going to remain B. It's just instead of having the root up here, you just got to think of it as an inversion. And this means you can also play some lead licks in the middle. And now that we've looked at the lovely backbone of our open tuning, the ability to move your chords around, and that sort of underlining theoretical base that we can translate from standard to our open tuning, why don't we look at playing around with our chords? And as I'm absolutely certain that you may have noticed there, some of these type chords really do remind you of a certain guitar player from a very famous band known as the Rolling Stones. As I said before, having the ability to just fret the entire 6 strings all at once with one finger opens up the ability to play around with the remaining notes, and gives you an ability to just add in some extra licks, extra notes, which can add some interesting dimensions to your playing, which I find can be quite melodically rich in a way, deviating a little bit from standard, but still retaining that sort of interesting element, as I just mentioned before, where you're not all that familiar with these notes that you're going to go investigate, so it's quite interesting to kind of test them out, go by ear, and see what sounds good and what doesn't, whilst at the same time benefiting from those open strings all rigging out in harmony with one another to give you some interesting elements of playing. And do consider more sexy tips like these to come in the future, so do subscribe to stay tuned. And in our concluding segments of our video, let's go over some applications of all these fancy things that I've been talking about so far, because I'm, and trust me, not some sort of authority when it comes to new and extravagant ways of playing guitar. You can trust me on that one. In history, we can see various applications of the open G tuning, giving us some wonderful bluesy, rocky, and just generally melodic and even ambient ways of playing the guitar, frankly, from the lovely bluesy backbone of modern guitar, which is Muddy Waters, to blues-inspired slide guitar riffs and solos brought to us by artists such as Jimmy Page, to warm, melodic, and heartwarming chords brought to us by artists like Keith Richards, and even just playing around with whatever you can put together with your fingers, using that underlying harmony of all these open strings to kind of put together something new. These are the main reasons I think that it's just kind of fun to tune your guitar and mess around with what you can kind of hear and listen to. That being said, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to my ramblings today. If you were in any way interested in what I've had to say so far, I would very much appreciate you popping me the subscription down below. We're very close to 50, so And that's pretty cool in my eyes. Nonetheless, if you have any feedback, if you too have been trying to experiment with open tunings, please tell us what to do. I'm thinking in the future I may look into open E, but that's going to be something for another day. So stay tuned. That being said, I'm done.